There is a photograph taken in Lisbon on the night of September 28, 2024. In the center of the frame, a Portuguese man in his 60s holds a hand-painted sign above his head. His face is set, his hands shake. His grandchildren cannot afford the street he was born on. The sign reads in capital letters, "I have to choose between paying for a house or eating." Behind him, 10,000 people are marching toward the seat of municipal government. Many of their banners are written in English, addressed not to the city, but to the people who have moved into it. Our neighborhoods are not your business. It was the moment a European capital famous for its sunshine, its cheap rent, and its capacity for absorbing strangers admitted, in clear and undeniable terms, that one of those three things had ended. Now look at Lisbon in the spring of 2026. Rents in the historic center are up more than 40% since 2019. The Golden Visa program that brought tens of thousands of foreign investors and their families through the city has been restricted. The tax break that drew remote workers from Brooklyn and Manchester has expired. Property prices in Lisbon doubled between 2015 and 2024. The digital nomads who peaked in 2021 are leaving for cheaper destinations. And the residents who have lived in Alfama and Moraria for 4 generations are starting to admit, quietly, that they have lost. Gone. The version the Portuguese government is now telling itself is that the policy reversals worked. The golden visa is gone. The tax break is gone. There is also a second version, harder to print. The people the visas brought in already bought the apartments. The rents they pushed upward have not come back down. What was removed was the invitation. What stayed was the consequence. This is the story of how the city that launched the first European empire of globalization became 500 years later the first European capital to discover what globalization felt like from the other side. If you want to understand why Lisbon's residents are now marching against the visitors their own government invited, subscribe. Fallen Cities follows the destinations the travel press still describes in the present tense, but the residents already discuss in the past. Lisbon did not arrive at this in 2024. The shift had been measurable since 2012 and visible since 2017. What changed in 2024 was not the underlying reality. What changed was that the city stopped pretending the reality was sustainable. For most of its modern history, Lisbon had managed its visitors the way Venice once managed its merchants. Quietly, profitably. The numbers are blunter than most policy papers will state them. In 2024, Lisbon received approximately 8.5 million tourists against a permanent population of just under 550,000 residents. Divide those visitors across the residents. The ratio is roughly 15 tourists for every 1 Lisbeta every year. Property prices in Lisbon more than doubled in 8 years. Rents in the historic center are now higher per square meter than rents in central Berlin. The average Portuguese salary is around 15,000 euros a year. A 1-bedroom apartment in Alfama now rents for over 1,200 euros a month. Lisbon now has more than 15,000 Airbnb listings, roughly 3% of the city's total housing stock. Portugal nationally counts 700,000 vacant homes against an estimated shortage of 137,000 units. The math has long since stopped working for anyone who actually lives there. What replaced the city, slowly and then all at once, was a stage. Alfama, which for centuries had been a working-class fisherman's quarter, began to operate as a theme park where the residents were extras. The fado houses that had served the same neighborhoods for decades were replaced by themed venues selling photographs of fado houses. The grocery stores that had fed the steep, narrow streets at 6 in the morning closed in favor of co-working spaces with English language menus. The container of Lisbon is still here. The contents have been quietly relocated. There is a particular kind of visitor who arrived in Lisbon between 2017 and 2022, not the cruise passenger dropped at the riverfront for 4 hours of pastry shops. The other one? The 34-year-old American software engineer in a co-living space in Barro Alto, paying 1,200 euros a month for a bedroom that, in 2015, had been the front room of a Portuguese widow's third-generation apartment. He is not a bad person. He likes the city. But he is, mathematically, the reason the widow's grandson cannot afford the street he grew up on. And the city, for 10 years, told him he was welcome. A senior figure at one of Lisbon's largest hospitality groups, speaking on condition of anonymity, described the situation in terms hard to argue with. The problem, he said, was never the visitors. It was that Lisbon's model assumed those visitors could be invited indefinitely without the residents who serve them being able to afford to live near the buildings where they work. You can't run a tourism industry from a labor force that has to commute 90 minutes because the city has been sold to people who do not work in it. If you have been to Lisbon in the last 5 years, you have felt it. The cafe in Bairro Alto, where every customer spoke English, and the queue for an oat milk flat white was 20 deep. The restaurant where you were seated next to other Americans and served by a Brazilian and overheard the owner speaking French to the chef. None of these moments were deal breakers on their own. All of them, accumulated across 4 days, were. And by the time you flew home, Lisbon knew, the booking software knew, the data knew, and here's what the data also knows. This is not a problem Lisbon is fixing. This is a problem Lisbon is becoming. Every empire has a moment when the unwritten contract between the place and the people who travel through it begins to fray. Rome had it. Constantinople had it. Lisbon, of all the cities on this channel, has the longest historical memory of this pattern, because Lisbon is the city that, in the 15th century, invented it. What has changed in 500 years is who is now arriving and who is now being displaced. What is happening in Lisbon is not, in the end, a story unique to Lisbon. It is a pattern. Venice arrived at this position first and most completely. Barcelona is the urban version of it now. Majorca, an island compressed into 10 weeks of summer, is accelerating through it. Amsterdam is the trading city version, telling its visitors to stay away. Lisbon is the imperial capital version, the most ironic of them all. If you want this kind of investigation to keep arriving, hit the like button. Lisbon was never supposed to become a discount weekend destination. For most of its first 600 years, it was a port, a trading hub, a counting house with a river. It grew because in the 15th century, Prince Henry the Navigator turned the city into the launch point for the European age of discoveries. Vasco da Gama sailed from this river to India in 1497. Brazil was claimed from this river in 1500. For 2 centuries, Lisbon was the most globally connected city in Europe. Then 1755 happened. And then, after the earthquake had reshaped the city and the empire had quietly dissolved and the centuries had passed, 2012 happened. Between 2012 and 2022, Lisbon quietly retooled its civic identity. The Golden Visa launched in 2012, offering residency in exchange for a property purchase of at least 350,000 euros. The non-habitual resident tax regime offered foreign residents a flat rate for 10 years. The digital nomad visa launched in October 2022, 3 policy instruments, each designed to attract foreign capital. The mythology of the cheap, sunlit, friendly European capital was repackaged in 15 years as an investment product. The breakdown, when it came, was not one event, but a long accumulation of legislative reversals. In 2023, the Golden Visa was restricted in response to housing protests. In January 2024, the non-habitual resident tax regime ended for new applicants. In February 2024, the mayor of Lisbon announced an €800 million housing investment plan. In September 2024, the largest housing protest in modern Portuguese history filled the streets of Lisbon with placards in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. The protests were aimed at the Prime Minister and at the foreign investors. By May 2023, digital nomad visa applications had collapsed from 300 per month to just 18. Together, these measures constitute the most aggressive policy reversal of any European capital of a small economy in modern history. A 31-year-old Lisbon software engineer, born and raised in Moraria, described his situation recently in terms hard to refute. He earns 32,000 euros a year, more than twice the average Portuguese salary. He cannot afford to live in the neighborhood his parents have rented in for 35 years. He commutes from Setúbal, 90 minutes each way, and watches American colleagues who earn 3 times his salary pay half what their salaries would buy them in San Francisco for an apartment 2 streets from the room he grew up in. The numbers, he said, do not work for a Portuguese who wants to live in Portugal. The protesters with their banners got the headlines. The activists with their placards reading "One digital nomad equals many forced nomads" got the documentary crews. But the actual force reshaping Lisbon was operating from somewhere none of them could reach. The American venture capital firm in San Francisco that bought 4 buildings on the Avenida da Liberdade. The investment trust in Luxembourg that owns the entire ground floor of 3 blocks in Chiado. The Chinese property fund that purchased 800 Lisbon apartments through the Golden Visa program between 2013 and 2022. These actors do not feel the protests. They never set foot in the city. The protests were aimed at the digital nomads because the digital nomads were the only part of the system that could be reached. The cost of all this is not yet visible in the postcards. The yellow trams still climb the same hills. The light over the Tagus at sunset is still the light Vasco da Gama saw before he sailed. What is missing is harder to photograph. The grocery stores that fed Alfama at 6 in the morning have closed. The neighborhood pharmacies in Moraria have been replaced by souvenir shops selling photographs of neighborhood pharmacies. Each closure was on its own a footnote. Together, they are the dismantling of the working culture that produced the city the visitors were buying tickets to see. A retired Lisbon school teacher, born in Alfama and now living in the satellite city of Almada, described it recently in terms that landed harder than any policy brief. She said she had stopped being angry around 2019. By then, the bakery on her childhood street had closed. The grandmother, who had lived 2 floors above her family for 38 years, had moved to a nursing home in Lourdes. The little plaza where she had played as a child was now a designated short-term rental zone with a key safe drilled into every doorway. What she felt was the slower thing that comes after anger, the recognition that the city she had spent her entire adult life in had been replaced, building by building, by a careful and respectful imitation of itself, and that the imitation was, increasingly, sold to people who would never have known the difference. She is not unusual. She represents a category policy briefings refer to in plural, the long-term residents, and rarely interview in singular. Most are not bitter. Bitterness requires surprise, and the people who live through this transformation have not been surprised for a long time. What they have is the attention you pay to a building you have loved being slowly remodeled around you. And the visitors are starting to feel it. What is in front of them is not what they were told they were coming to see. The tram still runs. The sunsets are still the sunsets, but the texture has thinned. Once a destination feels as though it is performing itself for its visitors, the spell begins to lift. Lisbon is not collapsing. Lisbon is being slowly converted by its own desirability and its own policy mistakes into a city-shaped object that approximates itself. The projections are visible if you know where to look. Housing prices continue to rise despite policy reversals. The new airport, scheduled for 2034, will further increase tourist volume. The vacant homes outside the city center, 700,000 of them nationally, remain vacant, and the people who already bought their apartments through the Golden Visa cannot be asked to sell them back. Housing affordability projections suggest Lisbon will not return to rent levels from before 2012 for at least 15 more years at the current trajectory. This is where Lisbon is, not collapse, not yet a Venice, just the slow accumulation of departures. The retired Alfama widow whose grandson cannot afford to live on her street. The Brazilian software engineer who, having read about the protests, decides Madrid will do instead. the hotel manager on the riverfront who notices the German market is moving toward Porto. The pattern Lisbon is moving into is one of the oldest in urban history. The replacement of a culture by a well-lit photograph of that culture. What Lisbon offers, in the end, is not just a story about Lisbon. It is a diagnostic. Is there still a working city behind the photograph? Is there still something being produced here other than the impression of itself? Or is this a city that has become a high-resolution rendering of its own former self? The trajectory is established, and trajectories, once they have momentum, do not easily reverse. Nobody wants to visit Lisbon anymore, the headline says. The truth is more careful than that. The visitors Lisbon wanted to keep, the retired Americans, the long-stay Europeans, the ones who returned every spring, are finding the city no longer delivers what they came for. The visitors Lisbon wanted to remove are going elsewhere. Lisbon, the city that taught Europe how to globalize 500 years ago, sits now in the soft Atlantic light and waits to find out whether the bargain it has just made was the one it should have made. A city does not fall. It is slowly replaced. Tell us in the comments which city you think follows this one, and please subscribe. The next chapter of Fallen Cities is already in production. The place we are documenting next was until recently considered immune to the kind of decline you just watched unfold in Lisbon.